The summer before Dwayne Wade's senior year of high school, the most important summer in terms of a player's recruitment, he was not invited to either. So Nike and Adidas and everybody they worked for, who it's their job to know the best players, they did not have Dwayne Wade as one of the top 800 high school players in America. And now he's one of the best 20 or 30 who ever played.
Sure.
Now, part of this was academics. He had some academic question marks but clearly, if they thought he was better, it wouldn't have mattered. You stuck with Dwayne Wade, and you took him to Marquette as an academic qualifier. What did you see in him, and why did he make it from there to what he became?
Well, it starts, and you're so right about that, and I've used that stat. There were 17 kids from the state of Illinois that got invited to those two camps, and he wasn't one of them. And it might have been just the Chicago area, but it was some number like that. But it's not what I saw first, because this was VHS type tape, and I hadn't even seen this by the time I talked to him. Tim Buckley on my staff, who's at University of Cincinnati now, he had seen him, and he knew his high school coach, Jack Fitzgerald, because I'd hired Tim from Ball State. But it's not what I saw, it's what I heard. And I'll never forget it. It was June 21st, would have been 1999. I'm driving home. It's a Thursday, I believe it was. I know it was a Thursday because you could only talk to Dwayne on a Tuesday and a Thursday, because that's when he was at his first wife, Savon, at their house, right? You couldn't call him at home, and you didn't know why, but that's when you got him. And I remember driving from the Marquette old gym, got him on the phone, probably 25 minutes out to where I lived in Mequon. And I'll never forget that conversation for as long as I live. I hope not anyways, because when I was on the phone with him, not seeing him play, having some description, but it was like the way he talked, it was the way he sounded, there was a humbleness, there was a quietness, but it wasn't a meekness, right? He wasn't he spoke. I mean, it wasn't like you couldn't have a conversation with him, and he was really good to talk to. And so, like, I get home and I tell my wife, I said, man, that's a heck of a conversation. Who with? I said, this kid named Dwayne. I said, Tim knows him, right? And I'm describing this kid that I don't even know, right? Because I hadn't seen him. But, like, the conversation hit me. And so, like, now when we start to recruit him, and we were already recruiting his AAU team, and we ended up signing a player from his team, Noah Darte Blanks. And so now we start to see him. Well, he's coming off the bench. I mean, he starts half the time on this team. Right? And you find out later he's the biggest kid on his high school team. You find out later that things haven't been going very well at home. Now, you don't have any clue to the level of what it was, but you know that this is not a normal situation. But he would make plays, and then we would get on the phone, and there'd be weeks we wouldn't even be able to talk because he might be gone, and you could only call on that Tuesday and Thursday over there. And it was once a week calling it. And so the more you watched him, the more you saw something there. And I remember this one of these old statements. Bill Walsh talking about watching Jerry Rice one night, coaching for the 49ers. He's sitting in his hotel room. There's some game, Jerry Rice is on it. He gets caught up watching him play. I think it was Mississippi Valley State. They get into the draft work to get ready for the season, and one of the scouts is basically telling him that he doesn't think he can do this, this, and this. And Bill Walsh is saying, I saw him make this play. If he can make this certain catch, we can teach him to do it again and again. And it's almost like that was one of those things, like Dwayne would make this dunk, or he would make this drive, or he would get this steal. And it was like, you know what? I don't care who's recruiting him. We could probably get this out of him. We knew then we needed to uptick athletically big time. And so that was like the first initial thing, like this guy could be a really good athlete. But it was just that. And I think when we went into that home visit, and it was basically just Bradley and Jim Molinari, Tom Richardson and Illinois State, and us. Because there were certain schools like Michigan, Notre Dame, DePaul. If they'd have gone after him, it would have Illinois. It would have been over in a second, right? And they didn't. And he had this old raggedy Notre Dame jacket that he would even wear it in the summertime, right? Like he had this jacket on. It was ripped, and I'm thinking, man, if Notre Dame ever shows up, we're not getting him. But bottom line, he wanted to know if we would bring him in if he didn't make his grades. And I think when we told him yes, and I did not have clear direction yet that was going to happen, but I felt strong enough to say that I could do that because I would fight like crazy for that to happen. And lo and behold, he didn't make it, but he had an unbelievable year. And he came in and he worked like crazy that year for us. He made the honor roll that year. His last 3 semesters of college, he had a 3.0, a 2.6, and a 2.96. You had people that thought he'd never make it past the first semester. He'd be back in Chicago. And there was just something about him every day. And it goes back to how he made you feel.